get started. If you've ever been to my training before, I like to start on time. I want to introduce myself first. My name's Christy Boer, she, her, hers, and I am the training director here at the North Carolina Democratic Party. And we are joined by a colleague of mine who you might know. Nye, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, y'all. My name is Nye Levine. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm the Party Affairs Director for the North Carolina Democratic Party. Thank you so much for joining today's meeting.
Thank you, Nye. We do have quite a lot of people in this session today. So if you want to type in the chat and introduce yourself, let us know your pronouns, where you're at, maybe why you're so passionate about fighting for democracy with us here at the North Carolina Democratic Party. Just go ahead and type your introduction in the chat while I go through a few introductory slides. Thank you, Ashley. So I want to talk just for a moment about the goal for tonight's session. So this is the precinct leader training. The goal tonight is for precinct officers to understand what's expected from their roles and then have the resources that you need to succeed in those roles. So that's the goal for tonight's training. The agenda of what we're going to cover is what is precinct organizing? What are the precinct roles and responsibilities? And then finally, at the end, the last part, I will share some additional resources and support so that you do have the tools you need to succeed in these roles. I see introductions coming in the chat, so keep those coming. This is a standard slide I use in my trainings where I am committing to not using too much jargon. Politics is chock full of jargon. When I first got engaged politically, I found it very confusing and overwhelming. I'm going to do my best to define terms, use maybe everyday language, and try to stay away from the jargon as much as I can. This particular session has more jargon than any others I have built for the party so far. So there's some points where I've literally taken the language from the party plan of operations and tried to turn it into words that I could personally understand what they were saying. So if I use jargon, if I use a term that you want me to define, type it in the chat. Nye is keeping an eye on the chat and can help define things as we go, or raise your hand. We'll have some pauses so that you can specifically ask questions, but I'm going to try my best to not use too much jargon. These are some community agreements. These are my agreements and commitments that I want to make as the training director and that I would like us all to commit to in this session and to generally use going forward as we're out working in our communities. One thing that I probably need to add on here that will come up at several points in today's particular lesson, which is just that our state is incredibly diverse. Different counties, different cities, rural, city, urban, suburban. There's a lot of diversity in our state. And I'm going to share some ideas and best practices to give you some guidance, understanding that you know your community best, and there might be things that you have to adapt to your environment, to your population. Totally understandable. If you ever find me not living up to these commitments, not assuming best intentions, treating information with confidentiality, please call me in. I'm not a perfect person. I can be better, and I appreciate your feedback. Okay, let's jump into the first section, which is what is precinct organizing? And I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to ask you all, what is a precinct? This is like the first really great piece of jargon. If somebody wants to type in the chat, which is blowing up, thank you for introducing yourselves. What is a precinct? You want to come off mute if anybody knows what a precinct is? A geographic district, a subset of the county. Yes, yes, thank you. So a precinct is pretty much the smallest unit of organizing electorally in North Carolina. Local voting area established by the County Board of Elections. Yeah. Yes, and there is a polling site for each precinct. Great, thank you. Okay, here's the next question. What is a precinct leader?
Person in the precinct that tries to organize an event.
Yes,
Like,
us, organizing voters.
yes.
There's,
Yeah,
I would say organize voters, keeping them informed and trying to pursue participation.
yes. Someone else put encourage participation in the chat. Yeah. A precinct leader is sometimes a job no one else will do. I suspect a few of you in here may have been voluntold to be a precinct leader. So thank you. Okay, a precinct leader, this is my language. This isn't what it says in the party plan of operations, but you should be the person that all the Democrats in your precinct, they know you, they know they can go to you with questions when they want to talk politics, when they need a voter registration form, when they want to ask, when will we get our vote by mail ballots? Like you are the person or people. We have multiple precinct leaders per precinct, but you are the person in your community that the Democrats know they can reach out to. So that means you're really building relationships, welcoming new voters, new volunteers into the community, helping train volunteers, helping us expand the electorate by registering more voters, educating voters, talking to them about the issues and the candidates, and thinking about what are effective ways for you to communicate what you know as an activist, as a party leader, communicate what you know to your entire precinct. So really this building relationships and communicating is the heart of what being a precinct leader is. As I mentioned, no two precincts are the same. This is a list of some of the tactics that you might use in your precinct. We're going to talk a little bit later about kind of the evolution of a precinct. And if you are a new leader or a new leadership team, don't let this list look daunting, please, because this, for the precincts who work on all of these activities, they've probably been building their processes and routines over a couple of years or elections. But these are just some of the tactics that precincts might engage in. I'm going to go backwards now for a moment and talk about how you got here. So first of all, congratulations on being a precinct leader. It means people in your precinct, in your county, in your neighborhood do look to you as an expert. They look to you as someone they can trust. We know how important those one-on-one conversations are and how important it is to build trust. The media environment isn't what it used to be. So having those one-on-one relationships is so important. So congratulations and thank you. We will not win without the work that you're going to do in your precinct. So we appreciate that you're here. I mentioned the plan of organization. After today's training, I'm going to send an email probably tomorrow with some key websites, URLs, links, resources. I will include a link to this plan of organization. This is the formal guiding document for all of our party operations. I am a bit more casual than how this is written, so I have tried to simplify parts of it, but this is a tremendous resource. So I encourage you to bookmark it, print it, read it, whatever works for you. I can tell you, Nye and I each have a copy of this on our physical desks and flip through it. I've started marking and highlighting sections. When you have this as a PDF, you can search for certain key terms, which can also be helpful. And I've got a note here at the bottom, pages 12 through 19. Those are the pages that specifically talk about precinct organization. Bottom line, this plan of organization and precinct organizing is how we win. It starts at the bottom and works its way up. So
I just dropped the link to the party plan of organization in the group chat for anyone who wants to bookmark the link now.
thank you, Nye. That's why Nye's here to help me. Appreciate it. Okay, so it's written in this party plan of organization that the North Carolina Democratic Party is organized by voting precincts. That is the building block, the foundation of how we report up, how we build power, how we get small actions done repeatedly to win elections. So the backup part here is on February 17th was the annual precinct meetings. And, sorry, hitting mute on some background noise. So the annual meeting, this is a requirement to consider a precinct organized. An organized precinct had that meeting. Quorum was met, which means 5 Democrats who are registered and live in the precinct were in attendance. The meeting was noticed, so it was communicated in advance that the meeting was happening. Officers were elected, and then a post-meeting report was submitted. So that's what it means, according to this document, to be an organized precinct. So some general responsibilities here. One is to reflect and represent the demographics of the precinct. We know we have an incredibly diverse state, and we hope that the precincts reflect the demographics of their communities. General responsibility for grassroots organizing. That can be political education, get out the vote, or GOTV, we call it, campaign activities. This might be done within your precinct, but I think it's probably a bit more likely that you are rolling up to your county party and you are finding volunteers in the precinct to participate in county party events. There are some precincts that are super organized and running their own programs, but you'll probably work a lot with the county. And then this third general responsibility is that you represent the precinct at the county party meetings. So this is kind of what it looks like. I don't want this to be viewed as a hierarchy. I'm not a real hierarchical person. It's more about the quantity to me. So I learned this number today. We have 2,659 precincts in our state. And those precincts roll up to our 100 counties across the state. We have 14 congressional districts, and the precincts inform the counties help inform the congressional districts. It all helps inform us in the Raleigh headquarters office for the NCDP. And then our partners who we are communicating and coordinating with are the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the Democratic Governors Association. You will never hear me say those acronyms again. We're so used to just saying DNC, DSCC. But everything you're telling us is rolling up to us so that we can help inform the coordinated campaign, the Senate and congressional campaigns. So for a precinct, these are kind of the minimum precinct structures. So there is a precinct committee. This is what I refer to as meeting quorum, 5 registered Democrats who live in the precinct. The officers include the chair, the vice chair, the secretary treasurer. and it is generally a 2-year term. Okay, that was the introduction to what precincts and precinct organizing is. Before I go to the next section, where I get more specific into the roles and responsibilities for each of those 3 main roles, I'm going to pause. I will not be able to catch up with this chat because there's been so many introductions and so much feedback and participation, which I love. But Nye, if there's anything that I need to bring up for the group, or if anybody wants to come off mute to ask a question, I will pause here for a moment.
There are no questions in the chat. Everybody was just sharing what they think a precinct is and why precincts are important. One person has asked, how are precincts organized? And yes, they are organized by population. So the bigger your county is, the more precincts you will have.
The chair has to live in the precinct.
Yes.
And the 5 individuals are 5 separate households. I think, and I will correct me if I'm wrong, but like the chair and the vice chair can't come from the same household.
Yes, you have it right, Christy. So those 2 roles have to be separate households.
And preferably separate genders.
Yes.
And preferably separate maybe racial backgrounds.
Yes, yes, to promote diversity within the party.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Roxanne wants to join by phone. I'm not aware of any. Go ahead.
Roxanne, you should actually be able to disconnect your audio from your computer. And then once you disconnect your audio, you'll be given the option to reconnect and you can select call by phone. I'll message you right now.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How do you get a map of your precinct?
So you are jumping ahead to slide, I don't know, 42 or something.
I'm sorry.
No, it is a good question. And I'm actually going to throw it back to this group. There are a couple different ways you can do it. You can do it on Google. If you have vote builder access, you can go to the Board of Elections. You can ask your county party what they have. So there are a couple, and I see people posting, yeah, same thing. Like really the best is to go to the Board of Elections and get it from them.
Okay, I tried that, but they sent me to the city. And I went to the city and I got a map, but it's a very confusing map, although I've lived here all my life. But thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, we also know we're going to be up to some shenanigans, but up against some shenanigans. So reach out to your county party as well. And I'll share some resources for that.
Thank you, man.
Towards the end. Yeah. Okay. Let's get more specific about precinct officer roles and responsibilities. So a little bit of a quiz here. What are the roles? If somebody wants to post in the chat or come off mute, what are the roles for the precinct leadership team?
To set reasonable political goals and voter organizing.
Yeah, so I would call those their responsibilities. I'm looking for the titles. I can clarify that. So there are 3 roles. I see it. Yeah.
President,
Chair, vice
first
chair,
chair, yeah, vice chair and
and
secretary,
treasurer.
yeah, treasurer.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So we've got the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary treasurer. Thank you. That was a quiz because we had just talked about that, and I know you all have your roles. So we've talked about some of the responsibilities here. I'm going to share, before we go into a deep dive on the responsibilities, a couple of ways to think about this role. So like I said a couple minutes ago, some of you may have been voluntold into this role. Some of you might not quite know what you got roped into. I want to tell you that we are here to help, and also a couple of mantras here. So be brave and strong. I believe that you can do this. Something is better than nothing. So I shared a slide with 15 different tactics. You don't have to think about jumping in and doing all 15 at once. We're looking for progress, not perfection. Our chair Clayton talks about this, that we are in this. We know that we've got a multi-year effort here to retake as much power as we can in our state. As a training director, I want this to be sustainable for staff, for volunteers, for candidates. Don't burn yourself out and try to do it all at once, but think about, what can I do this year? What am I going to do differently next year, the year after? And then finally here, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I have to remind myself of this on occasion. Sometimes as a procrastinator, I want to do something perfect, and I feel like if I can't do it perfectly, I don't start it. That's not a good approach. So I try to remind myself of that. And so think about this, when you approach this role. Please do the work in a sustainable way, so you will be engaged in working with us for several years. Think about multi-year infrastructure, and in a few slides, I'm going to talk about what that might look like. Okay, we're going to talk about the 3 roles. The precinct chair, this is in my language. This is not how it's written in the party plan of operations. If you have gotten different direction from your county party, if you've been doing this for years and you've got a way that's working for you, take what is helpful from what I say, and don't worry if we're not 100% aligned. But when I think of the precinct chair, I'm thinking about someone who is the party's eyes and ears on the ground. You know your neighbors, you know your turf, you know your community. You will be the one learning your precinct inside and out. And then you will also be identifying and sharing volunteers, getting them signed up for county party events. For most precincts, you probably won't have your own volunteer events, maybe canvases, phone banks, things like that. You might be helping to shift people into events with the county party. Okay, so what are some ways to get to know your precinct? And this is where one of the things I had on my list was find a map. So those are the kind of things I'm looking for here. But what are things you can do to get to know your precinct? Walk your dog. Yeah. Walk your dog. You'll see this is a high density neighborhood. This is all gated homes. Attend annual meeting.
Shop local.
Shop local. Yeah. Knock doors. Host meet and greets. Pull a list on Vote Builder. Yes. Call new move-ins. Yeah. My precinct is not organized. I just moved here and haven't heard from anybody. So I'm going to have to take that up. Yeah, these are great in the comment. Let's see. I have, drive the precinct boundaries, walking the dogs one way. If you have a more rural turf or something, you might want to just, what are the edges of the precinct? Getting your arms around the voter demographics. What percent are Democrats versus Republicans? What are the demographics? Age, race, religion, education. I see more great things coming in the comments. Thank you. And then researching your elected representatives who represent you. That's something that for a lot of people who aren't activists like we are, they might not know that. And especially the further down ballot you go, they might know who North Carolina senators are, but they might not know their county commissioners, for example, or city council or whatever. So that is helpful as well. This is a bit more formal language. So this is from the party plan of operations. The chair runs the precinct meeting, sets some goals for the precinct. You might organize a voter outreach plan, but it also might come from your county and you're supporting it. It is important for you to attend the county executive committee meeting so that you can represent your precinct to the county as it rolls up, and we all get informed. Keep people in the loop, transmit records, which is one of the glamorous bullet points here. And, read that plan of organization. So have that handy, reference it. For the precinct vice chair, I kind of think of this role as the publicity officer. So if the chair isn't available to run the meeting, the vice chair can. If your precinct or if you individually have social media accounts, you can promote your activities or your county's activities on your social media accounts. I've seen some people post about newsletters. Maybe your county has a newsletter, excuse me, that you can piggyback on, but you have to get the information to the person in the county party who's running the newsletter, for example. Sorry. Also attend those county executive committee meetings. Read the plan of organization. Then the precinct secretary, treasurer. The primary responsibility here is taking meeting minutes. If the chair and the vice chair aren't available, the secretary treasurer can run the meeting. Keep minutes, share them with your membership. There's some reports that come up that the secretary treasurer can help take care of. Help the county party with their fundraising efforts. Read the plan of organization. If the precinct has its own fundraising apparatus bank account, it's not common. It's far more common for that to happen at the county level because there are additional responsibilities with that. So if you're going down this road, you have to make sure you have the treasury, your bank account at a insured commercial bank. You have to file some certifications and paperwork. If your precinct doesn't have a treasury, probably don't want to start one up. You probably want to collaborate with your county party on this. But one thing, and there is a link that you can get the training if you are a treasurer for your precinct. If you're raising money, your best bet is to go through the county party. One thing that comes up that might not be obvious is that if you are making in-kind donations, they should be reported. So what this means is if your precinct is printing handouts to leave on people's doorstops, that's an in-kind donation. So you should talk to the treasurer for the county party and make sure that that's being reported. And then finally, there are committee members, and the role for committee members is to pitch in. There's a lot of work to do, and many hands make light the work. So committee members participate in all of these activities, attend the meetings, help out the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and get involved in county events. So the chair, vice chair, and secretary treasurer, those are what we refer to as the precinct officers. I'm going to talk about a couple other types of roles that you can consider, whether these are roles that you feel like you want in your precinct, or if they are roles that exist or maybe should exist in your county party. The first one is block captains. This is the one that, in my mind, is most likely to exist within the precinct. So block captains is going to be the person walking their dog. And there's like, I've got 2 blocks within the precinct. I walk the dog. I will be the point person for those voters. So those block captains are really, the super on the street level of organizing. And these are people who probably are involved in our GOTV, get out the vote efforts. Another role to consider, and again, this one is one that's probably more likely to come at the county level, will be a database coordinator. So somebody who's tech savvy, who can be the person who accesses the tool that we make available to the counties, which is called Vote Builder. So if you or someone in your precinct is super into data management and technology, they might be somebody you want to get connected to the county party to help you with Vote Builder. That's the database of volunteers, of voters. You can pull lists to know how you should target your efforts. You might have a volunteer coordinator. It might also be at the county level instead, but this is somebody who's going to help identify, recruit, and train volunteers. Maybe have sign-up sheets at community events in the precinct or in the county. And then make sure that people who sign up and say they're interested in getting involved, make sure they get some outreach so that they can actually get signed up for events. The last kind of optional role that I'm going to share here that might happen at the county level or at the precinct is an events coordinator. So it could be helping the chair secure locations and run your regular meetings if you have them. It could be someone who serves as a social chair. Maybe you've got a summer barbecue in your precinct, or a holiday party or something like that. Maybe you have an event around 4th of July parades. It could be whatever you want it to be, but you might find an events coordinator is helpful. Okay, what comes next? So the precinct organizing meeting was Saturday, February 17th. That's probably how you got here. Last weekend was the SEC meeting. Coming up, Saturday, March 16th is the county conventions. So it will be important for you to attend your county's convention and share what you know about your precinct. And then district conventions, April 20th. So I did share these general responsibilities. I want to hone in just a little bit here on the one that says represent the precinct at county party meetings. So the county convention. Nye, do you want to tell us a little bit about the county conventions?
Yes. Hey y'all. Again, this is Nye. So county conventions are going to be hosted all across the state on March 16th. And at county conventions, you do basically 3 things. If there are any vacancies in your county leadership, you're going to elect to fill the vacancies. You're going to debate and approve resolutions and conduct any other party business that might be relevant to your county party. Several county party chairs use this opportunity to invite other candidates to speak to their county parties about their upcoming races. They also invite nonprofits that are aligned with the Democratic Party's mission to come and speak, as well as any other keynotes that might be able to inspire inspire, and influence us as we prepare for elections this fall. As it applies to resolutions, lots of people have the opportunity to present resolutions at the county and district level, and the resolutions will later be discussed by our state leaders at the state convention on June 1st. So if you have any other questions about what happens at county conventions, any resources your county is needing, if you're a county chair on this call, I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat below. We're currently working on getting a video message from the officers so that people can hear a little bit from our officers before they get to organizing their counties and their local areas.
Okay, so that's what's coming up at the county conventions. I happened to see a little chat about resolutions. I'm a big fan of organizing and talking to voters. So that's where I spend more of my time, and I have more knowledge about that process. But so what else is coming up this year? This is just kind of a preview of what it's going to look like for the rest of the year. So organizing our precincts and finding our people. Who are the Democrats in your precinct who you can count on to help you talk to undecided voters? We need to grow and train a volunteer army. And I have a lot of trainings that I'll share in a bit. So I'm here to help support with that. We are already canvassing, knocking doors to talk to people, to identify our supporters, persuade people who are persuadable, and recruit volunteers. The presidential reelection campaign has already hired a couple of North Carolina staffers, and more will be coming. And as that ramps up, we on the NCDP are collaborating with them. And we are making sure we are ready with our organization so that we can effectively use the resources that will come from the Biden-Harris team. And then October and November is GOTV, get out the vote. So that's when we will have all hands on deck to make sure people we have identified as our supporters have the information that they need to actually get out the vote. So I've mentioned just a little bit about different precincts are at different stages of their development. So I wanted to share information to make that a little bit more specific and tangible. This should not be discouraging to you, I hope. I don't want you to feel like you are behind or anything, but we know different precincts get organized. Someone moves and it's not organized, and new people come in and you have to start over. And so roughly, for precincts that are kind of in their early days of getting established, they've got those 5 members that were needed for a quorum. They probably don't have regular meetings, probably don't do a lot for GOTV. Developing precincts have more members, periodic meetings, do some stuff for GOTV. And then once you're a well-oiled machine, you've got a good base of active members, you're meeting regularly, and you're doing a lot around GOTV. If you are sitting here looking at this saying, I think my precinct is in early days, a couple of actions that you can take as you think about growing and developing your precinct: schedule regular meetings. You can meet someplace free, like a park or maybe a library, or you can meet someplace that's inexpensive, like a coffee shop. Find a precinct map and other helpful resources. The map thing has come up a few times, so another action to take to help develop your precinct is to get to know it better. And then attend a community event. So be a presence at other events that exist and say, hey, I'm the precinct leader for our precinct. Are you interested in getting involved? How can I get you involved? So those are a couple of steps to take as you think about moving from early days of your precinct organization to more of a developing organization. For precincts that are developing and you think you're on the cusp to becoming a well-oiled machine, some actions you can take here. Have a structured communication from precinct leaders to members. Maybe it's a once a month letter that's mailed, or it's a weekly email, or there's something that's happening regularly to communicate what's going on. Identify block or neighborhood captains who can focus on keeping one or two households near them informed. Train volunteers on the key voter contact activities like canvassing, registering voters, greeting at the polls. And during GOTV, try to have coverage at polling locations, maybe at like 40% of the time at the precinct during early vote, and on election day you have coverage, or you're hitting 40% of your precinct with literature drops where you hand out literature on the door, or with canvassing. And when you are a well-oiled machine, that's when you can turn into just an absolute rock star and start helping other precincts develop their programs as well. So you probably have regular precinct meetings, you're regularly attending the county meetings, you have a full GOTV effort with lit drops and sample ballots. You've got poll greeters for the entire time during early vote and election day. You might have events that are for multiple precincts in your area, and inviting elected representatives to come speak at them, or people who are running for office. And you're probably doing some outreach, cooperation, coaching, helping, developing precincts as well. So that's kind of the stages of the precinct development. Start where you are. I'm going to go back to those early mantras about progress, not perfection. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And there was a third one that was also good that right now is escaping me. But, don't think you have to do all of this all at once. I want this to be sustainable for you. Okay, we talked about the roles and responsibilities for precinct leaders. The next section, I'm going to share some resources and support that we're going to provide to help you and your volunteers be prepared, some training resources. So I'm going to pause here. And Nye, do you see any questions that we could address?
I'm looking at the chat right now, and I don't see any other questions. We've shared the party plan of organization in the chat a few times, but we will keep bumping it for y'all.
I have a
And
question about the finance.
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, you mentioned in reference to the financing, is there a certain amount of money, or do everyone that's a secretary / treasurer needs to go through the course that's offered up in Raleigh?
If you're
Yes.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Christy.
I'll let you take it, Nye.
Okay, I was gonna say, yes, you do have to do the course with the Board of Elections within 30 days of being elected as treasurer, and that can be found online. I'll be sure to drop the link for the training that the Board of Elections provides to treasurers as well.
Okay, so but my question is that is the course we have to pay funds for it, or is it free?
From my understanding, it's free, but let me double check that for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, so generally at the precinct level, it's not recommended. And Vicki, I'm seeing your comment here. It's not really recommended to be raising money. It's technically possible, but it's really better to funnel it through the county whenever possible. Jim, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the relationship that we as precinct chairs will have with the Biden campaign and the consolidated campaign. In the past, there has been some friction, I think, between the national campaigns and our local campaigns, and I just wonder how we should handle that and what should we expect.
So, I don't know what the answer to that is. The coordinated campaign looks a little different every time. And it's politics, so there is occasionally friction. I think that, I think that we'll know more in the summer. In the meantime, all I know is that what I am doing is I am heads down doing the work because I live here and I'm going to be here come, November 6th, no matter what happens. So I'm doing what I can now and just moving ahead. And we'll see how it plays out. I'm sorry I don't have more information, but yeah. I see, Vicky, your question, why do precincts have to have a treasurer if we can't raise money? And I think that that's why the role is called a secretary / treasurer. So it's really more about taking the meeting minutes, and that is more of the responsibility. But that person can also be the one to flag if you have in-kind donations like printing materials or things like that. Okay. Let me share some resources. Excuse me. Okay, so the first stop is really your county party. So I know I've talked quite a bit about some activities are more likely to happen at the county level. If you are not yet connected with your county party, please reach out. I've got the link here on our website where you can look. This is a screenshot of what the page looks like. Counties are listed in alphabetical order. It will tell you the name of the chair and have links to their contact methods, whether it's email, Facebook, Twitter, whatever they have. So reach out to your county parties if you haven't already. Talk to them. What are they doing that you can piggyback on? How robust is the county organizing program? Will you be able to funnel volunteers into canvases they are hosting, for example? Or will they have resources that you can use to organize your own events? But really the first stop, talk to your county party and collaborate and get aligned on what they're doing versus what you're doing before you get too far along. These are some of the key organizing tools that we use. So the first one, I think I've mentioned Vote Builder a couple of times. The state party makes Vote Builder available to the county parties. This is the database of all of the registered voters in North Carolina. So your county party might be able to pull you a list for your precinct. So you know the demographics, you know the people who are registered as Democrats in your precinct. The next tool listed is Mobilize. Mobilize is the event management tool. So for example, you probably used Mobilize to sign up for this event tonight. The county parties also get access to this from us at the state party. If you are hosting events that are specific to your precinct, you might be able to have your county party share them on Mobilize, or they'll have events that your precinct members and volunteers will sign up for. Zoom, we're still in a Zoom friendly world. You can use Zoom for free for 45 minutes. If you have a longer meeting, you can use Google Meet, but those are some of the cool, some of the key tools that we use for organizing. This is the third time I'm kind of showing this slide. When we talked about general responsibilities, there's a big bucket of this, which is around grassroots organizing, political education, GOTV, campaign activities. That is my particular area of experience. So I'm doing live Zoom trainings that you may find helpful if you haven't attended before, or maybe you have volunteers or neighbors that you want to get signed up for these trainings. You will find these events all on Mobilize. So I have 2 voter registration events coming up in March and April. I'm going to try to do this once a month for the next several months. Pretty much every Thursday, I'm leading a class on how to knock doors, how to canvass, have persuasive conversations with voters. I'm doing that tomorrow and then 2 weeks off, but then it's every Thursday. Currently scheduled through at least April, but it will continue. If you are interested in hosting your own canvas, I'm leading a training for that on March 26th. And vote builder skills. If you or someone in your precinct or county is going to be your main technology leader. I did a Vote Builder 101 class a week or so ago. I will be recording and sharing that soon. And then I'm planning 2 more Vote Builder sessions on how to set up a canvas and how to set up a phone bank. So those are coming. I want to give a plug for one of our partner organizations, the National Democratic Training Committee. This is an arm of the DNC, the National Democratic Organization. They have fantastic trainings on their website. They do 5 or 6 live Zoom events every month. And then they also have a whole curriculum of self-paced trainings and templates. There are a few here that are particularly good, and I will share this out in an email tomorrow. But the NDTC does training for staff, for candidates, for county and precinct committees, for general volunteers. It's a really fantastic resource. Couple more things that are available from the North Carolina Democratic Party. There is a resource that we call the Living Library. It's a folder of a lot of training materials that have been created by the party over the past several years. It's constantly being added to. So again, you will get this in your email tomorrow. If you are part of your county party in a leadership role, you probably already have access, but I will include the link to request access. I will also be sharing the full calendar of all the trainings that I have scheduled. I do have a video I've recorded on voter registration training for volunteers and then for people who are interested in hosting. And I have office hours every Friday from 12 to 1. It's not a formal training. There isn't a presentation like this, but it's a chance to come ask me questions and I can connect you with resources, whether it's something I have, the party has, or another organization has. I'll connect you with those resources. This is our organizing team. So we have 3 regional organizers. This is roughly how they're split up. And Sarah O'Brien is the organizing director. So you might see or hear from them over the next 9 months, 8 months, whatever we got. Sarah and the organizing team have office hours every Thursday. Mine is every Friday. I will share this in the email tomorrow as well, so you have everybody's contact information. And you might have previously gotten emails from Nye as our party affairs director, particularly if you were at the